Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to my talk. My name is Kadzai. I'm currently a product designer at Zillow and an equity evangelist. As an equity evangelist, I am all about advocating for systems that are intentional in empowering users in marginalized communities. Today, I will be sharing a 3-step guide on how you can incorporate equitable design practices at scale on your team. But first, let's talk about definitions. What is equity? So I am going to juxtaposition equality versus equity. Equality is defined as treating everyone the same and giving everyone access to the same opportunities. But equity takes it a step further and is defined as giving everyone what they need to be successful. So equitable design is about going beyond good intentions and creating systems and processes that actively avoid causing harm to users. And it's also about empowering all of our users with the tools that they need to be successful. Okay, so now that we've got the definitions out of the way, I want to briefly talk about how I got into creating the Racial Equity Framework Guide. So last year was a very challenging year, and many corporations and organizations came out with statements and pledges on how to be better partners to BIPOC communities. Our CEO at Zillow came out with a blog post called "Racism Has No Home Here," and in the pledge, they were pledging on being better at fighting for justice and equalities within all of our processes and products. And that gave me a personal mandate on my role as a product designer and things that I can do within my role and that I could make impact on. So I ended up finding a piece of data from our economic research team that stated that Black homebuyers, sellers, and renters have the highest reports of unfair treatment and discrimination throughout their housing journey. So this made me realize that all users are different, are not the same, and that we have to incorporate some of their unique experiences when we are coming up with solutions. So why build an equity framework guide? Our products have real-world consequences for all of our users. Therefore, good intentions are not enough. We have to be intentional about the products and experiences we are building. And I have 2 goals with the guide. Number 1, I want to ensure that the guide empowers everyone, and it is an everyone problem. So anyone starting from the intern all the way up to a VP, you should be empowered by taking this guide and creating your own equity framework. Number 2, I wanted to ensure that it was integrated into your everyday processes and workflows. So think about it like a design system. You don't even think about it, it's part of your workflow. I did not want this document to be something that sits somewhere on Google Doc and you forget about it, but it is ingrained in part of your working DNA. So let's get into the guide. So the guide has 3 stages that you have to go through. So the first stage is you want to start with an audit. From there, you want to create a plan and execute. And then finally, you want to share as a case study. So the first stage is starting with an audit. Starting with an audit and auditing your current processes and products will empower you with data. The data can be used to identify gaps and opportunity spaces. So when I worked and partnered with our UX research team, one of the areas that they audited was their research participant and recruitment. So the question that they had was, are our research participants representative of our actual customers? And they actually did an audit to answer that question. So depending on your team and the types of problems, equity problems you are trying to solve, you can ask different questions and then focus on a specific area to audit. Once you're done with creating and your audit, you want to go into the second stage, which is creating a plan and executing on that plan. So there are 4 steps that you need to go through within this stage. The first step is you want to define the problem. And defining the problem, you usually want to create a document that is called a design brief or a project brief. And within a project brief, you want to list out all of the scenarios that are in scope, why you are solving the problem, the background story on the problem. You want to list out all of your stakeholders and also list out the areas that are outside of your scope that you are not solving for. And then once you have a design or project brief, you will move on to the next step, which is getting alignment. You want to get alignment internally with your own team on agreeing on the design brief, but also you want to get external alignment. So you want to identify who those stakeholders are. In the UX research team, they worked really closely with legal. So you want to identify who those stakeholders are that you want to get alignment with to ensure that you are in agreement on how to solve the problem. After that, you want to create a detailed plan. Now, this plan is all about defining requirements. It is all about listing out metrics for success. It is about deadlines and timelines and activities that you are going to do to achieve the problem that you identified. So once you have a detailed plan on how to execute the plan, then you move on to the last step, which is, of course, executing the plan. Now, once you're going through this, you are going to make adjustments as you go. The plan might change and vary depending on circumstances. So don't be too tied to the original plan. Be flexible and make it work for your case. And then, of course, once you have gone through executing, you want to share and inspire by creating a case study and sharing your findings. So you want to share it out internally, whether it's within the team or creating a blog post, however you want to do it. But the purpose of this stage is you want to inspire and educate on how you are empowering and building equitable products for your users. So finally, we're just going to do a quick review of everything that we talked about and the next steps. So designing with equity in mind is going beyond good intentions, and it is all about creating systems that are empowering to all users. There are 3 stages in creating a framework. So the first stage is, of course, equipping yourself with data by doing an audit. The next stage is creating a plan and executing on the plan. The final stage is inspiring and educating others in your organization by sharing your findings and sharing the work that you are doing. Now, the toolkit is still in the early stages of development. We are actively still testing it out, but I am sharing this information with you so that I can get more feedback on how to improve it and how to make it better. But the goal is to inspire you all to get started on your own equity framework so that you can create more equitable products for your customers and empower your customers with the tools that they need to be successful. I have also added a link and with documents with extra resources on how you can get started on your own equity guide. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to all of your questions.